I'm going to be balancing my TBR. So at the end of each month for this year, I want to make a little video where I'm kind of balancing my bookshelves, aka balancing my TBR. So we'll start with whatever my physical TBR number was at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of the month, and then we'll see how it gets added and how it goes down, hopefully. I got this idea from Beth Morvant. I'll link her up above. She does it on TikTok mainly, but she also has a YouTube channel, and I absolutely love this idea, and it inspired me to do my own. So let's get started. My starting number for this month was 42 books on my physical shelf. Not bad, not the best. It's fine. The first book I read was Funny Story. I got that from the library. So no change in the TBR count. We're still at 42, but it was a really, really good book, and I'm hoping that I can get it as a trophy on my shelf because I know I will reread it. It's probably my favorite Emily Henry so far. The next book I read was Evocation by S.T. Gibson. This is my Fairy Loot edition. I think this was the absolute first Fairy Loot I got. So I read this. So getting a Fairy Loot book done, I've wanted to make sure that I read my Fairy Loot books this year. So that is -1 because I do physically own it. So we are now at 41. Awesome. The next book I read is another one that I do own, and I own physically, and I read physically. It's Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, so it's the second book. However, this was a reread, so doesn't count. So we're still at 41. And then the next book I read was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Another library book, so another no change because I don't physically own it, but I did really, really like this one, and it's again another one that I would like to have as a trophy on my shelf because I think I might reread it. I really like Lynn Painter and her books. Then next, we've been doing really good with just reading, no buying, using our library. I did buy a book. This is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I absolutely love this book. And yes, it is a book that I have read before. So no TBR change. I did buy it. However, it does not add to the TBR because I have already read it. I would just like to have it on my shelf, and I'm hoping I will reread it again. We are still at 41. The next book I read was another physical book. It is The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. This was really, really good. It was another Fairy Loot book. I believe this was actually the second Fairy Loot book I got. I didn't mean to be like reading them in order. I'm definitely not reading them in order anymore. But very silly that the first two I read were the first and second one that I got. So this is Honey Witch. I did really like this one. So it is a minus. We are down to 40. See if we can break into the 30s. But after I finished that one, my new Fairy Loot came in the mail for the month. So this is the January Fairy Loot book. By the time this comes out, everybody should have gotten their January Fairy Loot. The new one, it's Immortal by Sue Lin Tan. It looks very, very pretty. My favorite part of it, although this is gorgeous, my favorite part, I love that. Oh, I love the Fairy Loot books. They're so pretty. But yeah, so we got that one, so that's a +1. We're back at 41. Unfortunate. However, I did read another physical book. I read Happily Never After, also by Lynn Painter. Wasn't my favorite one of hers, but it's okay. It gets another one off of my physical TBR. This was also one on my 25 and 25 list. So that's done as well. That was my first one on 25 and 25 completed. So now we are back down to 40. And to finish the month, I read another physical book, Sorcery of Thorns. This was our book club book pick by Margaret Rogerson. Absolutely love this one. All of us really, really liked it. So highly recommend if you have not read it yet. It's a very, very good standalone fantasy book. There is like a novella that you can read afterwards, but it is pretty much a standalone, and it was so good. So that leaves us at 39 books on my physical TBR. We did pretty good. We didn't have too much of a crazy roller coaster. We did pretty good. So very happy about that. To finish it out, I'm just gonna go through some just other stats to finish off the video. For the month of January, I did buy 3 books. I know I only showed 2, actually. I only showed 2. I did buy 3 books though. I bought an ebook, so it doesn't add to the physical TBR, but it technically doesn't add to my digital TBR either, because it's a book that I have already read. I just bought it again because we're gonna read it for one of our book club months. The Perks of Being a Wallflower also didn't add to the TBR. The only one that did was my Fairy Loot book, and that was one that I knew was coming, so I feel pretty good about that. Next, I want to go over just the books that I'm currently reading. Currently, as of like right now, this moment, it is February 2nd. I did finish a book earlier today, and I finished a couple other books earlier this week. So I'm very much like, I don't have many books I'm reading right now. I DNF'd the audiobook I was listening to. I am still reading Out for Blood, Cultural History of Carrie the Musical. I have not gotten too much further in it, but getting somewhere. I have cast my musical though, so that's very exciting. We start rehearsals tomorrow. And another book that I just started today is this book. It's another Fairy Loot book. I've taken off its dust jacket. Very pretty. Very pretty. It is Sorcery and Small Magics by, I don't know how to say her name. I'm gonna butcher it. It's Micah Dushi? I don't know. That's her name. It's beautiful. So I just started that one, and I believe I have checked out an audiobook on Libby. I believe it's The Raven Boys. I haven't started it yet, so we'll see what happens there. And then my plans for reading for the month of February, books that I want to get done is we do have a book club book picked out. We had our book club yesterday, and our book club book is Ash's pick. So it is a book that I don't own. However, she does have it on her Kindle and she's sharing it out with us. So we'll all be able to read it without having to buy anything or anything like that, or wait for the library, because it is like a 13-week wait for the book that we picked. I do have 2 buddy reads that I'm planning for this month, both physically owned. One of them is Sorcery and Small Magics. I'm reading that with Megan from book club. And then the other one is Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher, reading that with Caroline from book club. So hopefully we get at least those 2 done. I don't know what else the month of February is going to bring in terms of physical or not physical books. I'm hoping I can get another Percy Jackson down. I finished Sea of Monsters, and then I was reading like too many books at the same time for a lot of the month, so I didn't pick up the 3rd one. So I'm hoping I can get back to that, finish the 3rd one, hopefully start to really get those going, but who knows, because again, I am starting rehearsals tomorrow. So I don't know how much time I'm gonna have to really read my physical books. I'm gonna try as much as I can. Leave a comment down below if you have read any of the books that I read or purchased this month, and if you have a favorite. And other than that, thank you for watching.